All right, Rabbi, good morning. Let us begin. A thank you to sponsors of this morning's shir, to thank Saeed and Sima Hakin for dedicating the shir this morning in memory of Sima's father, Yecheskel ben Agasela. We hope that in the merit of our Talmud Torah, his neshama will have an aliyah and the family in nechama. Rabbi, also to thank Gedalia and Dana Rosenblum for dedicating the shir this morning in memory of Dana's father, Moshe Chaim ben Avram, Zichron Levracha. We hope that in the merit of our Talmud Torah, the neshama will have an aliyah and the family in nechama. And to thank Josh and Malki Rosenblum for dedicating the shir this morning in memory of Josh's grandfather, the occasion of his first yard site, Moshe Chaim ben Avram. We hope that in the merit of our Talmud Torah, the neshama will have an aliyah and the family in nechama. And we'll say, of course, a thank you to our Talmud Torah sponsors for the month of Teves, to Shirley Elbaum, together with their sons Avron, Sean, and Judah Elbaum and their families, in memory of their beloved husband and father, Jerry Elbaum, commemoration of his 10th yard site. We hope that in the merit of our Talmud Torah, the neshama will have an aliyah and the family in nechama. And I will say, with that, let us begin. We have an incredible daf ahead of us today. So we'll say we are picking up, today's daf is Yud Beis 12. We are picking up on Yud Aleph Amud Beis. And we are picking up at the two dots. And it is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 lines up from the bottom. So we'll say, remember again, although the Mishnah's topic was Berachos Kriyas Shema, we kind of segued into a fascinating discussion yesterday regarding Berachas HaTorah. So the Gemara now goes on and quotes an incredible Mishnah. So the Gemara says as follows: Amar Tanan Hasan. We learned over there. Amar lem Mamuna. So we'll say the Mamuna. We remember this from our Tamid days, right? So the Mamuna ultimately again was the person who was in charge of the Kohanim, right? So he was in charge of the Kohanim. So in the morning he would say Baruch Hu Bracha Achos. He would tell them as the Kohanim were assembled. Again, we'll see the timeline. Actually, take a look at Rashi. He says, Huskana Kohanim. This was the assistant Kohen Gadol. Kedisa biyuma. Baruch Hu bracha achas. So Rashi says over here, L'kaman mefarei shmahi, umin abracho shelifnei kriyas shmahi, tahasa misadr l'kulei seder avodas hashachar, v'ka'amar de la'achar shesidru ha'ivarim al gabi ha'kevesh, umolchum yardu ubao lahem l'lishkas hagozes likros es shma. V'hadratani amar lemamuna baruch hu bracha achas name baruch hu v'karas arzor. So remember again, work in the base Hamikdash should begin at Alos. Rishus were already beginning even a little bit before Alos. But the idea is in the morning, what they would go ahead and they would do is they would organize the limbs, right? The limbs of the Tamid ultimately on the ramp of the Mizbeach. Then they would gather in the Lishkas Hagozes, the chamber of hewn stone. And it was there that this conversation takes place. So the Mamuna would tell them, Baruch Hu bracha achos, make a bracha. And I will say, now Rashi already tells us that the bracha that's being referred to over here is one of the brachos of Birchas Kriyas Shema. Which bracha? What we will clarify. Vein Baruch Hu, so they made the bracha. V'kara aseres hadibros, is quite fascinating. So we'll say this was the Seder HaTfilah, the order of davening inside of the Beis HaMikdash. They would say the aseres hadibros, Shema, v'hayayim shamoa, v'yomer, u'baruch hu esa'am gimel brachos. Right, u'baruch hu esa'am, they would go ahead and they would bless the people with gimel brachos. Emes v'yatziv v'avoda u'birchas kohanim. Right, so emes v'yatziv, avoda, and birchas kohanim. So we'll say these are all the different brachos. U'b'Shabbos mosifin bracha achas l'mishmar hayotze. And on Shabbos, so we'll say, remember again, there were shifts of kohanim who served in the Beis HaMikdash. So the shifts rotated out on Shabbos. So the departing, the mishmar that was departing, ultimately again would be given another bracha. Well, we'll see ultimately again who's giving who the bracha. But literally translated it means, and on Shabbos they would add on one more bracha for the departing shift of Kohanim. My bracha achas. So we'll say, so okay, let's take a step back. Now let's analyze this Mishnah. So when the Mamuna told them to make a bracha, so we'll say, which bracha were they making? What bracha were the Kohanim making in the morning? So the Gemara says, my bracha achas, ki ha Rabbi Abba, Rabbi Yossi bar Abba, iklu lahu asra. So one time, Rabbi Abba, Rabbi Yossi bar Abba went into a particular city. And when they got to this city, they asked the rabbis of this city, my bracha achos, what bracha did the Kohanim say? Which bracha did the Kohanim say in the morning? Lo hava biyadayu. The rabbis of that particular city didn't have the answer. Va'asu shailuhu l'Rav Masna. They then went and asked Rav Masna, lo hava biyadei. He didn't have the answer. Asu shailuhu l'Rav Yehuda. When they finally came to Rav Yehuda, so they asked the same shailah, which bracha are we reciting? Amar luhu, Hachi Amar Shmuel. So he said to them, this is what Shmuel said, Ahava Rabba. The one bracha they said ultimately again in the morning was Ava Rabba. Ava Rabba. Both say others have a different opinion. Others say it was the bracha of Yotzer. So we'll see, here's what we know. Everyone agrees that it was what? One of Berachos Kriyas Shema. The machlokes is which one of Berachos Kriyas Shema. So says the Gemara, Kias Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef Amar Had Rabbi Zreika La Beferish Itmar Elam Echlava Itmar. So we'll say when Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef came along, he said that Rabbi Zreika's position that it was Yotzer Ar was not said explicitly, but rather was learned out from an inference. Or I should say, we'll see, was learned out from an episode. We'll say why, what happened. Rabbi Zika, Rabbi Ami, Rabbi Shimon Lakish, Zos Omeres, Brachos in Ma'akvos Zuazu. We'll say the fact that the Kohanim only recited one of the brachos of Birchas Kriyas Shema tells us that what? Brachos einon ma'akvos zuazu. We'll say in general, we're going to find this concept more and more in this Masechta. Whenever you have groups of brachos, and the brachos, multiple brachos that are part of a unit, does one bracha impact another? So the Gemara is saying over here, Rabbi Zreika is saying in the name of Rabbi Ami, saying in Rabbi Shimon Lakish, the fact that the Kohanim only said one bracha of Birchos Kriyas Shema tells us that what? Brachos einon ma'akvos zuazu. That you could say one bracha independently of another bracha. Take a look at Rashi for just a moment. Zos omeres, diktani barchu bracha achas. The fact that the Kohanim only made one bracha, brachos in ma'akvos zuazu. Beirach es ha'achas ula beirach es ha'shniya, nafka miha yedecha wasa b'hisha beirach. That if you go ahead and you make one bracha, and you don't say the other bracha, you're still quote unquote fulfill the mitzvah of the bracha that you recited, even though you left one out. And the non-recitation of the other bracha does not compromise the one that you said. So fine. So back to the Gemara. So say if you say that the one bracha that the Kohanim said in the Beis Hamikdash was the bracha of Yotzer Ar, then Rabbi Zrika's statement makes sense. Hainu brachos in ma'akvos zuazu. Then you have a clear raya that what? That the recitation of one bracha is still okay, even though you did not go ahead and recite the other bracha. So the Gemara says, "The lo ka'amri avarabba." Ultimately, what's the raya? The raya to that is that the Kohanim only said Yotzer Ar and didn't say Avarabba. So you'll see what his proof is in just a moment. So if you say that the one bracha that was recited was Yotzer Ar, so then I understand how they reached the logical conclusion of brachos einon ma'akvos zu et zu. That one bracha does not go ahead and in any way impact the other. They can be recited as separate entities. Top of Yud Beis. But if you say that the one bracha they recited was in fact Avarabba, then what? My aim brachos ma'akvos zuazu. How do you have any proof that brachos are not ma'akev, that brachos do not impact one, that one bracha does not impact the other? After all, Dilma, haidelo amri Yotzer Ar, maybe the reason why the Kohanim didn't say Yotzer Ar in the morning was why? Mishum delo mata zman Yotzer Ar. We'll say now the Gemara is working under the assumption that when can you recite Yotzer Ar? When can you recite Yotzer Ar? When there's light. So maybe the reason the Kohanim did not go ahead and recite Yotzer Ar in the morning was because it was too early. It was too early. So therefore again, v'chimata zman Yotzer Ar have amri. And when the time for Yotzer Ar would come along, then they would go ahead and they would say the bracha of Yotzer Ar. So the Gemara says, so therefore, what the Gemara is suggesting over here is Rabbi Zreika's statement that the one bracha they said was Yotzer Ar was learned out by inference. In other words, they're inferring it from this discussion over here. The fact that Rabbi Zreika said that ein brachos ma'akvos zu, that's a principle that we learned from here. It must be that the bracha that they said was Yotzer Ar, because if it was Avarabba, then there's an easier reason to explain away why they didn't recite Yotzer Ar, which was simply because it was too early. To which the Gemara says, V'im mechlala, mai di'im mechlala. So we'll say, so, okay, what does it matter if Rabbi Zreika learned out his position, ultimately, again, from an explicit statement or from an inference? What does it matter? To which the Gemara says, di'im mechlala, li olam avarabba hav amri. Because they both say, because Rabbi Zreika is not learning this out from an explicit teaching, but rather is inferring this, it's possible that maybe they did say avarabba. Maybe they did say avarabba. Maybe that was the one bracha. V'chi mataz man yotze'ar hava amri. In other words, we'll say maybe really what happened. See, here's what everyone agrees with. At that early time in the morning, where they have just arranged the limbs of the tamid, of the morning sacrifice, they're only saying one of Berachos Kriyas Shema. That no one's arguing with that fact. Rabbi Zreika is inferring that it must have been Yotzer Or. It must have been Yotzer Or and not Avarabba. The Gemara goes out of its way to say, by the way, Rabbi Zreika is inferring that. That's not an explicit teaching, he's inferring that. The reason the Gemara is saying he's inferring it is because there's an alternate explanation. What's the alternate explanation? Then in fact, one bracha they were saying was what? Was Avarabba. Why weren't they saying Yotzer Or? They weren't saying Yotzar because it was too early. When did they say Yotzar? When it became light enough in the day, a bit later on, the Kohanim would go back and say the Bracha Yotzar. Umay brachos in ma'akvos zu. If that's the case, then what's the meaning of the teaching when we say brachos are not ma'akev one the other? In other words, that we'll say one bracha doesn't impact the other. Seder brachos. I will say what it teaches us is as follows: that halacha l'maisa Berachos Kriyas Shema can be recited even out of order. Even out of order. That even though again normally it's Yotzar and then Avarabba, but if you recite the brachos out of order, like what was done potentially in the Beis Hamikdash, they said Avarabba and then Yotzar only later on, that technically speaking you are still Yotzei Berachos Kriyas Shema. So I'll say that brings that conclusion to an end. Interestingly enough, so what did they do in the Beis Hamikdash? It's just fascinating to know what was the operating procedure for Berachos Kriyas Shema in the Beis Hamikdash. So listen to this. So the Rambam in Hilchos Tamidin Musafin, Perek Vav Halacha Dalid writes as follows. These Rambams are always incredible because the Rambam tells us exactly what happened in the Beis Hamikdash. So watch this. So va'achar shemalin ha'aivarim lakevesh miskansin kol lishkas hagazis. After they put the limbs of the carbon onto the ramp, everybody would gather in the chamber of hewn stone, the Lishkas Hagazis, right? One of the chambers in the Beis Hamikdash. V'amamuna omer lahem baruchu bracha achos, and the Mamuna would tell them, right? The Kohen in charge, Skan Kohen Gadol would say, okay, it's time to daven. Recite one bracha. Which bracha would they say, Rabosai? Vein poschin v'korin avas olam. Remember, the Rambam's gear says Avas Olam, not Avarabba. Our gear says Avarabba, but the Rambam ultimately pasking is like this last version in the Mishnah, that in the Gemara. That Allah Chalamaisa, the one bracha that they recited was in fact the bracha of Avarabba. He then goes on, and ultimately, again, he says a little bit later on that they would recite the bracha of Yotzer Or a bit later in the morning. So that's just what was the procedure in the Beis Hamikdash. So we'll say the Gemara goes weiter. Quite incredible Gemara. V'korin asaras hadibros, shma v'hayim shamoa, v'yomer emes v'yatze v'avodu berachas kohanim. So we'll say, so now that we've taken care of the first part of davening, right? So the first thing they did was baruchu bracha achos. Right? The first thing they did was avarabba. After Avarabba, they then went ahead and said, Aseres Adibros, Shema, V'hayim Shamoa, so on and so forth. So now we're going to go through each part of this davening. Amar Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Af bigvulin bikshu likros kain. So obviously what stands out most in this order of davening is Aseres Adibros, the recitation daily of the 10 Commandments. So interestingly enough, the Gemara says, even outside of the Beis Hamikdash, they wanted to establish the recitation of the Aseres HaDibros as part of Kriyas Shema. Look at Rashi. Bikshu, almost right across in Rashi, Bikshu, Likvo Aseres HaDibros B'Kriyas Shema. Well, so this is incredible. You're learning over here now about the evolution of organized prayer. So remember, in the Beis HaMikdash, the recitation of Aseres HaDibros was part of Shema. So what a beautiful practice, right? Shema, remember, again represents Kavalos Omachu Shamayim, accepting the yoke of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So how beautiful it is it to put in the Aseres HaDibros in there? 10 Commandments, fundamental pillars. So says the Gemara. So what happened? Ela shekvar bitlum mipnei taromes haminin. But they stopped doing it. They stopped the practice. But so whether that means they started and they stopped it, or they just never really instituted it because of taromes haminin. Taromes haminin literally means the statements, or literally means the complaints of the heretics. If you look at Rashi says, "B'nei taromes haminin shelo yomru la'amei haaretz ein shar Torah emes v'teidu shein korna l'mashamar HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'shamo mipiv b'Sinai." So we'll say, interestingly enough, this is fascinating. The heretics used to claim that truthfully the only real part of the Torah, so it doesn't mean heretics like in a real sense. These are like frum heretics. They believe a little bit, right? So let's say, so the idea is they've said, oh, you see, 10 commandments are authentic. Those were given by God. Those were given by God. All the rest of the stuff is made up. Vaharaya. So we'll say, what added fuel to this fire? The fact that Aseres HaDibros was part of Kriyas Shema. So the fact that Aseres HaDibros and no other part of Torah was part of Kabbalah's Omah Chusha, accepting the yoke of heaven, gave fuel to the arguments of the heretics that only the Aseres HaDibros are authentic Torah. Everything else is made up. Chazal realized that this practice was giving fuel to their arguments, and therefore stopped the practice of including Aseres HaDibros as part of Kriyas Shema. Pretty incredible. Tanya Nami HaKar, what's the Rabbi that supports this? Rabbi Nassan Omer Big Vulin, Big Shulikros came, Ela Shekvar Bitlon Neit Haramas Hamina. So we'll say the same thing. Rabbi Nassan says Big Vulin in the surrounding areas. Big Vulin usually means the surrounding areas of Yerushalayim. They wanted to institute this practice, but stopped it because of the heretics. Rabbi Arachana Savrlik Mevinu Besura. Rabbi Arachana will say wanted to institute this practice as far away as Surah, Babylonia. Right? He wanted to go ahead and institute it in Surah. Amar Rav Chisda, Kavar Bitlum Mipnei Tarom Es Hamin. Rav Chisda told him, no, we don't do this anymore because of the heretics. Ameimar Savrlik Mikvinu Benarda. Ameimar wanted to institute this practice in Narda. We'll say again, one of the other major Torah cities of Bavel. So I'll say, so this is really quite fascinating. This idea ultimately, again, of going ahead and originally including Aseres HaDibros as part of Shema, which was done in the Beis HaMikdash, but subsequently stopping that practice because of pouring fuel on the fire of the heretics. But I'll say, I'll just show you something interesting. This actually has a fascinating contemporary ramification. There is an interesting machlokes aposkim dispute among halachic commentaries about standing up for Aseres HaDibros during Kriyas HaTorah. Right? When we go ahead and we read Aseres HaDibros, so we stand up. So many poskim are very much against that practice. You should not, in other words, if you stand up for Torah reading in general, so remain standing ultimately for Aseres HaDibros. But if you don't stand up for the rest of Torah, right? Person doesn't stand up for Kriyas HaTorah, to stand up for Aseres HaDibros gives what? Gives greater importance to Aseres HaDibros over anything else. Aseres HaDibros are no more important than anything else in the Torah. So actually many posts can bring down, based on this Gemara, that if you don't normally stand up for Kriyas HaTorah, do not go out of your way to stand up for Aseres HaDibros. Same thing, by the way, with standing up for the Shira of Az Yashir. Right? This same idea. If you stand, great. But to dafka stand up for things that you don't. So Rabbi Soloveitchik has a fascinating insight in this. He says, no. He said it has nothing to do with chashivus. He says when we go ahead and we read Aseres HaDibros, what we are doing is we are recreating Sinaitic revelation. That is the goal. When we read Aseres HaDibros, we're literally recreating Maimed Har Sinai. So we'll say, what happened at Maimed Har Sinai? We stood around the mountain. So we're not giving greater chashivos to any part of Torah one over the other, but we're literally, again, we're recreating an event. That event was Ba'amida standing, therefore we stand up as well. So again, you'll see different communities have different minhagim, but you do see some poskim very, very, very much against the practice of just getting up for Aseres HaDibros based on this Gemara. Pretty incredible. So Gemara goes right there. Ub'Shabbos mosifim bracha achas l'mishmar yotzei. So on Shabbos they added in an extra bracha for the shift of Kohanim who were departing. So let's define this. My bracha achas. We'll say, what was the one bracha? Amr b'chelbo mishmar hayotzei omer l'mishmar nichnas. In fact, we'll say what it really was. The departing shift of Kohanim, right? The departing shift would give a bracha to the incoming group. What was the bracha? Misha shachan eshmo b'bayis hazeh hu yashkin beinechem ava v'achva v'shalom v'reyos. Rabbi say this is so beautiful. The bracha that the outgoing shift would give to the incoming shift is he who rests his name in this home should rest his name amongst you, and there should be love and brotherhood and shalom and reyos and peace and camaraderie. This was the bracha they would give. So we'll say it's quite a beautiful bracha. Ultimately, again, why is this bracha being given? So we'll see, you have to understand something. For Kohanim, their primary source of support, of course, was Trumas Maisrus. And that week, when they got to serve in the Beis HaMikdash, there were hides, there were skin. I will say, people get along very well until it comes to money. Right? Once money comes along and finances get mixed in, even the best of friends could be torn apart. Families are torn apart. People are torn apart. So it's quite beautiful. So here, and I will say sometimes the only thing that's more volatile than money is religion. Right? So here, what do you have? You have the Kohanim coming in to serve God, and there's a financial interest in here as well. That could be quite a volatile combination. So the bracha that the outgoing shift gives to the incoming shift is Emir Hashem this week should be marked with holiness, with camaraderie, with brotherhood, with love, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu should reside in your midst the entire time. It's quite incredible. Makum shomer laharich. So let's remember again, the Mishnah then said, any time that Chazal instituted a longer bracha, you cannot go ahead and shorten it. And when they instituted a shortened bracha, you cannot elongate it. So it says the Gemara Pshita. So we'll say this is actually these. I just want to give you we're going to see these sugyas. The Gemara is teasing us a little bit because these are great Gemaras. So we're teasing us a little bit because these are really sixth parak Gemaras where we get into the halachos of Berachos Hananin. But you're going to see, we'll get a little bit of it. Pshita said it's obvious in the following case. Watch this. If I picked up a glass of wine and I thought it was beer, I picked up a glass of wine and I thought it was beer. So first of all, you're clearly drinking the wrong wine, right? I picked up a glass of wine and I thought it was beer. So we'll say, what's the halacha? Then we'll say, what's happening over here? When I picked up that glass, so I thought I was going to drink beer. So I say, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, with the intention of ending off that bracha. How? Shakol niyeh b'dvaro. But after I recite the first part of the bracha, I realize, it's wine, v'siyem b'dechamra. And the good news is I end off with Bari Priya Gefen. Or Gafen. Right? So ultimately, again, I end off the bracha with the correct suffix. So I'll say this is a fascinating issue in Hilchos Berachos. I began the bracha with the wrong intention. I began the bracha thinking that I was going to drink beer. So Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam was recited with intent to end it Shakol niyeh b'dvaro. But then I realized what's going on. I end off Bari Priya Gafen. So the Gemara says, Pshita heicha dekanakit kas dechamra b'yadeh v'kasav deshechru upasach u'mavarich adaita deshichra v'siyim b'dechamra yatsa. You're Yotze in that case. Why? Because we'll say the truth is either way you're covered. The inami im amar shakol niyeh b'dvaro yatsa datnan akulam im amar shakol niyeh b'dvaro yatsa. We'll say I'll tell you why you're covered in that case. Says the Gemara, because no matter what you would have done, you would have been okay. What's the worst case scenario? That you would have said shahakol on wine. It works. It works. Why? Because shahakol works on everything. Now, when we get to the sixth bracha, we'll see actually what everything means. Does everything mean even bread? So again, we'll see. But at least for now, for our purposes, had you accidentally said shahakol on wine, ultimately, again, it would have worked. Rather, what about the following case? So what happens if I'm holding a glass of beer, and I thought it was wine? And therefore, as a result, we'll say, so in this case over here, I'm holding a glass of beer, and I thought it was wine. So I say, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, with the intention of saying, Borei Priya Gafen. But then I realized that it is beer, so I end off in the proper way. So we'll say, so I end off the bracha correctly, Shakol niyeh b'dvaro. But the beginning of my bracha, what we call Shem Umalchus, was recited with intention ultimately again to go ahead and make a different kind of bracha. So we'll say, so the Gemara says, what happens? My Basar Ikar bracha azlinan, or Basar Chasim azlinan. Listen to this, Yisodus dik shaila. Do we go after the Ikar bracha? Now we'll say, what is the Ikar of any bracha? The Ikar of the bracha is Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. That is what we call Shem Umalchus, right? The name of God and a mention of God's monarchical identity. That is the ikr of the bracha. So we'll say, when looking at the validity of a bracha or effectiveness of a bracha, do we look at the ikr, the beginning, or do we look at how you ended? The chasima. We'll say, by the way, this type of case is maisim b'chol yom. Either sometimes, again, where it happens, I think more commonly, is where a person just gets mixed up about a bracha, right? So I know what the food is, but I may be mixed up about the bracha that I'm making, and I correct myself mid-bracha. So do we go after your intention at the time of the ikar bracha, or do we just look at how you ended the bracha? So Tashma, let's analyze. Says the Gemara, Shachris, Pasach biyotze ar v'sim ma'arav aravim. We'll say, so the Gemara brings a right from this case. What happens if in Shachris you began Berachos Kriyas Shema, right? The first bracha of Berachos Kriyas Shema with Yotzer Ar, but you ended off, instead of Yotzar Ma'oros, you said Ma'ariv Aravim. So we'll say, so you ended off, you began the right way, but you ended off with the bracha of Kriyas Shema Shal Arvis, and not Kriyas Shema Shal Shachris. So what's that? Lo Yotza, you're not Yotzei. Pasach B'Ma'ariv Aravim, but what happens if you began the bracha of Yotzei Or, instead of Yotzei Or, you began with Ma'ariv Aravim, and what? V'siyeh B'Yotzei Or. But you ended off with the bracha of Yotzei Ma'oros, the proper bracha, then what? Yatza, you're Yotzei. Similarly, Arvis, Pasach b'Ma'ariv Aravim b'Siyam b'Yotzei Or lo Yatza. If in Ma'ariv you began the first bracha of Berachos Kriyas with Ma'ariv Aravim, so you began the right way, but you ended the wrong way. Instead of Ma'ariv Aravim, you ended off with Yotzei Ma'oros, lo Yatza. You are not Yotzei. Pasach b'Yotzei Or v'Siyam Ma'ariv Aravim, but if you began with Yotzei Or and you ended off with Ma'ariv Aravim, ultimately again Yatza. Why? Klalo shel davar, because I will say the klal, the principle is hakol holech achar hachitum. Everything goes after how you end, how you finish. How you finish, I will say, ultimately again determines the effectiveness and the meaning of any particular process. I will say, I just want to point out, you see this incredible tension in general throughout the Gemara, which is a life tension, right? In any life initiative, how do we gauge success? Is success ultimately, again, based on the chitum, based on crossing the finish line, based on how you finished, or ultimately in a success gauged by your willingness to begin and engage in the process? So you see these conflicting ma'amari chazal. Hakol holech achar achitum, hakol holech achar ha'aschala, and the truth is both are correct. We'll see a little bit more as we go on in the Gemara. So Shiny Asam, to which the Gemara says, you can't bring a raya from here. Can't bring a raya from here. Why? Dika'amar baruch yotzer ha'ma'oros. Because ultimately, again, what's happening over here? A person is saying, Abba, you see, in these cases over here, the way it works in Berachos Kriyas Shema is that what's happening, it's what we call the bracha arichta. It's a long bracha. A long bracha is one that it doesn't necessarily begin with a bracha, but it ends off with another bracha. Look at Rashi for just a moment. Shiny Hasam, Rashi says, Shiny Hasam, Kilomar Dilma Psicha Eino Klum. V'hadiktani yatsa lefi shechozer v'chosein baba baruch yotzei ma'oros v'ayedei chasimasa ka'amar diyatsa ele shako aval shahako shein chosein baba baruch u'psichas adaita de borei priyagafen emilu yatsa. So the Gemara says you can't necessarily bring a raya from Berachos Kriyas to Berachos Nenin. Why? Because Berachos Kriyas, I will say, is a longer bracha, where there is another bracha that concludes. So as long as you get that concluding bracha right, then what? You're good to go, which makes sense. Even if you mess up the paragraph beforehand, as long as you get to concluding bracha right, you're good. That's different than Berachos Hanen, Shakol, Brei Priyagaf, and this is what we call a bracha kitzara, short brachas. So maybe in those situations, if you mess up the intention by the ikar bracha, by Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Olam, just because you salvage the ending, who says that you're yotzi the bracha? To which the Gemara says, "Hanichal Rav Damar Kol Bracha Shein Ba Haskaras Hashem Ein a bracha." Shapir. So we'll say this makes sense according to Rav, who says, again, we'll see all of these Gemaras later on, that any bracha that does not have the name of God is not a real bracha. That's what I both say. Ultimately, again, the bracha at the end of Berachos Kriyas Shema, Yotzar Ma'oros, right? Yotzar, for example, is good. As long as it has the name of God, it's good. And therefore, as long as you are saying the correct bracha at the end of that paragraph, you have salvaged that bracha, even if you started it in the wrong way. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, say that a really effective bracha doesn't just have the name of God, but what else does it have? Elokeinu Melech HaOlam, the monarchical identity of God. So we'll say Berachos Kriyas Shema, as much as each of them has a concluding bracha, it does not have Elokeinu Melech HaOlam. If that's the case, just because you make the right concluding bracha, if you messed up the previous paragraph, it could be that you should not be yotzei the bracha. Alakivun damra bar ula kedei lahaskir midas yom balayla umidas layla bayom. So we'll say this goes back to what we saw before. When it comes to Berachos Kriyas Shema, there is another imperative, which is to mention the night by day and the day by night. Therefore, again, ki ka'amar bracha umalchus meikara atarvaihu ka'amar. Therefore, I will say ultimately again, when we say the bracha of in the beginning of Baruch Hu, which essentially is the opening bracha, Yotzar Varei Choshech, Osa Shalom Varei Sakol, that opening bracha is the beginning of Berachos Kriyas Shema. Because that opening bracha makes reference to day and night, it covers all day and night mentions in Berachos Kriyas Shema. And therefore, even if you mess up a little bit about your day-night precedence in the brachos, you're covered by that opening bracha. Tashma miseifa. We'll say, take a look at the end of that brayso. Klalo shal davar hakol holech achar achitum. Remember, we're going to say the seifa of that brayso is quite explicit, and the seifa says when it comes to brachos, what do we look for? Abosai, we look at how you end, right? As long as your suffix, as long as your ending is correct, even if you had wrong intention, by Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech olam, you are yotzi the bracha. To which the Gemara says, klalo shel davar la'asuyei. So whenever you see this kind of type of wording of klalo shel davar, right? The klal, so klal is always coming to include something. What does it come to include? My lav la'asuyei hada amran. Does it not come to include ultimately what? The case that we had before, which is what I will say, where I made the wrong bracha on the wine and the beer, to which the Gemara says, lo, la'asuyei nam of a tamri. This is very interesting. No, it comes to include a case of bread and dates. What's the case? If you want to say it's a case where I ate bread, or I'm going to eat bread, right? And I thought I was mistaken. I thought it was dates, and therefore again, upasach adaita de tamri v'sayim b'dinamo, and therefore I begin Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech olam. Right, so remember again, I'm eating bread, I made a mistake, I thought it's dates. So when I say the first part of the bracha, I'm thinking that I'm going to end with the bracha for dates. But what do I end for? V'siyem b'dinamo, but I end with hamotzi. So hainu bayan. So we'll say that's the question that we're dealing with over here, right? That's the same thing as the wine beer case. We'll say, now what's the case? The case where I'm about to eat dates, but I got confused and I thought it was bread. Upasach b'dinamo. So I say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech olam with the intention of ending with hamotzi, v'siyem b'detamri. And interestingly enough, I end ultimately again with the proper bracha for dates. Yatza, it works. Why? Tafilu siyem b'dinamo nami yatza. Because I will say, technically speaking, even if had I made hamotzi on dates, it would have worked. Why? I will say this is actually quite amazing. Why? Taima, my taima, the tamri nami mezin zaini. So interestingly enough, dates have the ability to satiate like bread. So the Gemara quotes an opinion that says that technically speaking, if you were to make a hamotzi on dates, ultimately again it would work. I will say halacha l'maisa. How do we paskin? We paskin like this principle, hakol holech achar hachitum. Obviously, the intention is Hilchos Brachos, and we'll see this more in the 6th chapter, but Hilchos Brachos really demands that a person has explicit kavanah when they are making their bracha. Well, sometimes we do this, where I pick up a food item, I know I'm going to eat it, and I'm going to make a bracha. So usually it happens like this, and then there's like the pause, like, wow, what is this, right? Or like what bracha is this actually? So I'll say that is the wrong way to make brachos. When making a bracha, one should know explicitly before they make the bracha what the item is, what the bracha is, and what bracha they're going to make. But in the event that one had some level of bracha confusion and said, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech olam, thinking one bracha, as long as at the end of the day they say the right concluding phrase, they are yotzei the bracha. Hakol holech achar hachitum. They will say sometimes in life, the process is exceptionally flawed. Sometimes in life, the journey really doesn't go the way it's supposed to go. But lamaisa, the ikr is, do you cross the finish line, right? Do you do whatever you need to do sometimes to drag yourself across the finish line to accomplish your goals, to accomplish your objectives, even if the race and even if the journey was exceptionally fraught with difficulties and dysfunction. As long as you make it across the finish line and you complete the task at hand, you are successful. The Gemara goes weiter. So it's a beautiful, beautiful Gemara. Whoever does not say emes v'yatziv in the morning and emes v'yamuna in the evening has not fulfilled his obligation. I will say now you'll notice the different wording, right? Emes v'yatziv, emes means truth, right? Yatziv means like upstanding, an upstanding pillar, right? Emes v'yamuna means truth and belief. Emuna. So the Gemara says you have to say these brachos. Why? Shneimar lahagid baboker chastecha ve'emunascha baleilos. But say so beautiful, based on the pasuk lahagid baboker chastecha. In the morning, ultimately again, we speak about the chesed of Hakadosh Baruch Hu ve'emunascha baleilos, and in the nighttime we have our emunah. So we'll say again, Rabbi Soloveitchik says so beautifully on this Gemara, on this pasuk. He says, what does this mean? He says boker represents the great times in life. So lahagid baboker chasdecha. So there's a boker in life. The boker in life was when everything is going well, and it's so easy to see the chesed habore. Everything looks so beautiful. Everything looks so wonderful. Life is perfect. Everything is exactly as it should be. That's the hagid baboker chazdecha. But what do you do at night? Ve'amunas chabaleilos. There are leilos, there are nights in life, right? There are difficult times in life. So what do you do in those difficult times? That's when a person ultimately, again, cultivates and falls back on their sense of emunah. It's the emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu that gets you through the nights of life. So therefore, I will say in the morning, I say, Emes v'yatziv, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is truth, and He's the pillar. He props me up, everything is great. And at night, which represents the difficulties and hardships at night, Emes the emunah. I believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu somehow is going to shepherd me through these difficult times as well. When they bow, this is speaking about by the brachos in which you bow ultimately again by baruch, and you must straighten yourself ultimately again b'shem. So we'll say, so the way it works when we bow is we begin to bow by baruch atah, right? So I begin by baruch, I fully bowed by atah, and by Hashem I'm already straightened up. I'm straightened up by the name of God. So Amr Shmuel, my time with Rav, what's Rav's logic? The Chsev, Hashem zokef kifufim. Because it means that Hashem ultimately straightens the crooked, right? Straightens the bent. Meisvei, mipnei shminach. So most of the Gemara says over here, quotes the pasuk from Malachi, right? Mipnei shmi nichasu, miksev bishmi, mipnei shmi ksiv. But it doesn't say, so the Gemara is quoting this as a question. Mipnei shmi, the Gemara says, it makes it sound like when should you straighten up? As you're saying the word of God, in the name of God, excuse me. It doesn't say you should straighten up in my name, but rather because of my name. So ultimately, again, it's the recitation of the name of God itself which causes one to straighten up. So we'll say, so the idea being is that by the Shem Hashem, I am already straightening up. Amr li Shmuel lechia barav, excuse me. Amr li Shmuel lechia barav bar Orion. Tave ema lacham lo samayas. We'll say Bar Orion is named. That's what they used to call Talmid Chacham. It literally means son of light. That was how they referred to a Talmid Chacham. Bar Orion. Tave ema lacham lo samayas damar avucha. Let me tell you something wonderful that your father said. Hachi amar avucha. This is what your father used to teach us. Kishu koreh baruch. When you go ahead and you bow by baruch. Kishu zokef b'shem. And when you go ahead and you stand upright, you should stand upright already by the time you are reciting the name of God. Amadeus. Rav Sheshes kikara, when Rav Sheshes would bow down, kara kechizra, he would bow down like a rod. I will say, so Rashi says over here, kechizra, shevet biad adam, v'chovto klape mal b'bas. When he would bow down, he would bow down in one motion. Ki kazokif kechivra. And when he would get back up, in other words, when he would straighten himself back up, literally translated, he would straighten himself like a snake. So we'll say, so apparently again, when the snake moves its head, it doesn't just jerk its head up in one motion, but there's like a slow uplifting motion. So when you bow in one motion, but when you get back up in a slow motion, head coming up first, and then the rest of the body following. So we'll say during the whole year, so we'll say now we're talking about, now that we brought up other brachos, right? Other brachos and changing, or when you have a change in the suffix of a bracha, we're bringing up other circumstances where sometimes there's a change in the suffix of a bracha. So throughout the entire year, we say Akel HaKadosh Melech Oiv Tzedakah Mishpat Chutz Mi'asar Yom Shebein Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippurim, except for Aseret Simei Tshuva. What happens in Aseret Simei Tshuva? Shemispala HaMelech HaKadosh VaHaMelech HaMishpat. So we'll say because the Aseret Simei Tshuva ultimately again are days of judgment, we switch everything to HaMelech, the king, right? The identity, God has many different identities. The identity of HaKadosh Baruch Hu during Aseret Simei Tshuva is one of justice, right? The Melech, the king. Rabbi Eliezer Omer Afilu Omer Akel HaKadosh Yatsa. Rabbi Eliezer says even during Aseret Simei Tshuva, if you said Akel HaKadosh instead of Melech HaKadosh, you're still Yotze. Shnei Amar Vayigba Hashem Tzevakos B'Mishpat V'Hakel HaKadosh Nikdash B'Tzedakah. A Masai Vayigba Hashem Tzevakos B'Mishpat. When is God lifted up ultimately again in justice? Elu Asera Yom Shemer Shan Ba'ad Yom Kippur. And we'll say, so one of the days of Mishpat, the days of judgment, Those are the 10 days in Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And yet, what does the pasuk say? The pasuk still refers to God as what? V'ka'amar hakel hakadosh. The pasuk still refers to God as kel hakadosh, not just melech hakadosh. So we'll say, so fundamental machlokes by Aseres Tshuva, do you have to change hakel hakadosh to a melech hakadosh or not? Machlokes. So my havi Allah. No, what's the halacha? What's the halacha? So Amar Rav Yosef hakel hakadosh. Umelech ohev tzedakah mishnah. To both say, ultimately the halacha is that during the rest of the year, Rav Yosef said that even during Aseres Tshuva, you could say Hakel HaKadosh and Melech ohev tzedakah mishpat. Rabbi Amar HaMelech HaKadosh v'HaMelech HaMishpat. Rabbi says no. During Aseres Tshuva, we switch the Berachos to HaMelech HaKadosh, Melech ohev tzedakah mishpat. And what's the halacha? Rabbi said v'hilchasa Kirabba. We know this halacha. The halacha is like Rabbi, but Rabbi say just so we understand, we all know this. Remember, those two changes are not treated the same way. Hamelech HaKadosh, if you do not make that change, that would be an obligation that would make you required to repeat Shmona Esrei. But Hamelech HaMishpat, if you say the normal ending of Melech Oiv Tzedakah Mishpat, you would not have to repeat Shmona Esrei. The logic behind it being, because even though you didn't say Melech HaMishpat, you're still mentioning Melech. Because you're still mentioning Melech, but you're still Yotzei. Va'amra barchin nasam b'shmei d'Rab. We'll say beautiful Gemara. Kol she'efshulu levakish shachim al-chavera ve'inu mevakish nikra chotei. We'll say this is a beautiful, beautiful Gemara. Whoever has the ability to ask for compassion for his friend and doesn't do so is called a sinner. We'll say the idea being that if you have the ability to daven for someone else and help, we'll say sometimes we see people in difficult predicaments and they feel so helpless and powerless. So sometimes there's nothing I could physically do, but I could always daven for someone. So someone who does not take the advantage of the opportunity to daven on his friend's behalf, to do something tangible for his friend, is called a sinner. Shene'emar, gam anochi chalila li mechatol Hashem mechdal lispala ba'atchem. Rabbi says, the pasuk in Shmuel says, this is Shmuel Hanavi saying, that if Shmuel talking to the klal, to the collective, if I don't daven for you, then I'm a sinner. The Shmuel Hanavi saying, if I don't daven on your behalf, then I'm a sinner. So you see that if you have the opportunity to daven for someone, to help with their particular plight, and you don't do so, you're called a sinner. Rabbi say, which is such an incredible yesod. What Chazal are teaching us, Rabbi say, is when you see something that is broken, don't just krechts and go on and move on in your own business. If you see something that is broken, do something to try to fix it. If you could roll up your sleeves and do something, fantastic. But sometimes in life, there's nothing I can physically do, okay? If you can't physically do something, spiritually do something, but inaction is sinful. Inaction is inexcusable. If you see something broken, you must do whatever is within your power, physically or spiritually, to be able to help out. Such an incredible yesod. Amar Rava, im Talmud Chacham hu. If the person is a Talmud Chacham, meaning the person who is ill, is a Talmud Chacham, tzarach sheyach la'atzmo alav. We'll say literally, you should make yourself sick over the situation. What does this mean? Look at Rashi. Im Talmud Chacham hu tzarach l'rachamim tzarach sheyach la'atzmo alav. And Talmud Chacham hu zeh shetzarach l'rachamim tzarach sheyach lechaveras alav. We'll say literally means, and if it's a Talmud Chacham who's ill, you should go even above and beyond. Above and beyond. Because we'll remember again, the Talmud Chacham, it's not just that he's just a Jew, but his Torah also contributes something spectacular to this world. If he's compromised, that means the world is compromised because it doesn't have his Torah. So a person needs to push himself even further for a Talmud Chacham. My time, what's the reason? So we'll say, so where do we get this idea that a Talmud Chacham, you literally even have to make yourself sick over a Talmud Chacham? See if you want to say, it's interesting. Gemara brings a raya about this from Shaul. That Shaul was upset when people knew that his son Yonasan was friends with David and no one told him. So Shaul says to the people, no one cares about me, right? No one's making themselves sick over my plight. To which the Gemara says, well, you can't bring a raya from there. Dilma Melech Shiny. Maybe the king is even in a different category. Ella Mehacha. Rather, it's from here. Va'ani b'chalosam levushi. So we'll say the Gemara says rather it's from David HaMelech. Va'ani b'chalosam levushi sak. So David HaMelech. So Rashi says b'chalosam al doeg va'achitofelu omer she'otem yechamim. That David HaMelech says literally, I put myself in sackcloth and I davened and I mourned. Ultimately, again, for the healing of Doeg and Achitofel, who are great Talmidei Chachamim who were ill. Good. Ava'amar Rabba barchin nasam mishrei d'Rabbo. Say beautiful, incredible Gemara. Kala osed dvar avera u'misbayesh bo. Let's listen to this Gemara. Whoever does an Avera and is embarrassed because of his Avera is forgiven for the Avera. I would say this is incredible. Why? Why? What's going on over here? What does embarrassment represent? Embarrassment represents a profound understanding that I know what I did is wrong. So I will say, the great obstacle to tshuva a lot of times is that we're actually not embarrassed about our averos. I'm not embarrassed, right? In fact, again, sometimes I even have like a little bit of pride in the averos that I've done. I don't do it anymore. But I remember kind of like a little bit proud, like a little bit longingly about what I used to do, right? I don't do this anymore, but I used to do it. I would say if there's not an element of busha, that means that a person really hasn't repudiated that behavior. So therefore the Gemara says, if a person does an avera and is embarrassed by what he did, that embarrassment in and of itself engenders forgiveness. He's forgiven for all of us in Shneimar, Leman Tiskiri, because the pasuk says over here, Leman Tiskiri uvasht, v'lo yeh lecha od pischon peh mipnei kli masech. So we'll say the pasuk in Cheskel says it pretty explicitly that Allah Chalamaisa, once you're embarrassed about your averos, that embarrassment itself fuels forgiveness. Dilma tzibor shiny. Maybe I will say that's talking about the tzibor. Maybe the collective is different. If Am Yisrael does an avera and Am Yisrael is embarrassed over the avera, so that's when embarrassment or humiliation engenders forgiveness. But how do this apply to an individual? I will say, watch this. This is incredible. Remember Shmuel al Shaul. Shmuel says Shaul. So remember again, this is at the end of Shaul's life. At the end of Shaul's life, everything is closing in on him. He goes to a necromancer, right? He goes to a sorcerer to raise Shmuel from the dead, to ask Shmuel what to do. So remember Shmuel Shaul, Lama hirgastani lahalo sosi. Why did you bring back my spirit? Vayomer Shaul said, Tsarli ma'od. Life is very difficult for me. Uplishtim nilchamami. The Plishtim are coming to do war against me. Vahashem sar me alai. God's spirit has departed from me. God is not talking to me. God's not talking to me anymore. He's not communicating to me through his prophets. He's not communicating to me through dreams. And ultimately, again, I'm calling you, Shmuel, to tell me, what should I do? I'm going out to battle with the Plishtim tomorrow. What should I do? I will say, interestingly enough, so Shaul says, God's not talking to me. He's not giving me any messages through dreams. The prophets. What doesn't he mention? He doesn't mention the Urim V'Tumim. He doesn't mention that he consulted the Kohen Gadol, right? And ultimately, again, the Urim V'Tumim, which is the breastplate of the Kohen Gadol, that didn't communicate with him. Why didn't he bring this up? Mishum dekat lenov ir kohanim. Because let's remember again, one of the dramatic events of Shaul's monarchy is he wiped out Nov, the city of Kohanim, because he thought that they were aiding and abetting David. Now the truth is, they were aiding and abetting David. They did not know that David was on the run from Shaul. Remember, David gave them a different story. David told them that he was on a secret mission from the king. So they did help him. They had no idea what was happening inside of the kingdom. Shaul thought they were collaborators and killed them all. So Shaul therefore doesn't bring up Kohen Gadol Urim V'Tumim because of his profound embarrassment about what he did with Nov Ir Kohanim. So how do we know that Shaul was ultimately forgiven for this terrible sin? By HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shene'emar v'yomer Shmuel Shaul u'machar ata uvanecha imi. So Shmuel says to Shaul, tomorrow you and your sons will be with me. So Amar Rabbi Yochanan, what does that mean? Imi b'michitzasi. So let's remember again, on one hand, Shmuel is telling Shaul, you're going to die tomorrow in battle. But he also tells him that when you die in battle, you're going to be with me in Olam Haba. Rabbana Amre Mehacha, Voknaum LaHashem Begiva Shaul Bechir Hashem, Yotza Sabaskov Amar Bechir Hashem. So we'll say, without getting into the details of that story, that's by David HaMelech, but you see that the pasuk refers to Shaul as the chosen one of God. So you see that Shaul is forgiven for his sins. Why the Gemara? The Gemara understands that forgiveness of the fact that Shaul was profoundly embarrassed and humiliated over his terrible sin against Nov Ir HaKohanim. As a result, he is forgiven. Amar Rabbi Avoh ben Zutrasi, Amar Rabbi Huda bar Zvida, Bikshu L'Kva Parshas Balak B'Kriyasha. I will say one more line. Chazal wanted to go ahead and establish the Parsha of Balak as part of Kriyasha. So we'll say we saw before that what? Aseret Hadibros was part of Shema. They then ultimately, again, fine, that was there in the Beis HaMikdash. They also wanted to establish Parshas Balak as part of Kriyat Shema. Why? Why did they not do that? This is incredible. Mipnei Torach Tzibor.